Hello there, me again. Another YouTube video already, only a couple of weeks since the last one. It may look like I'm wearing exactly the same clothes that I was in my previous video, but this is a completely different Doctor Who and the Enemy of the World t-shirt and a completely different striped shirt. I certainly haven't been wearing the same clothes non-stop for the last 2 weeks, and anyone who says otherwise is a liar. But today, I'm here to talk about the new Death's Head comic. Now, those of you who follow me on Facebook and Twitter, that's a mistake there. Both of you who follow me on Facebook and Twitter will know I've been going on about this quite a bit since it came out last week. So I thought I would add to my shameless self-promotion of this title by doing a short, and I do mean short this time, video talking about it. Did anyone make it to the end of my Transformers and Movies video? That was long, sorry about that. But the new Death's Head comic, or to give it its full title, Revolutionary War, Issue 4, Death's Head 2, Synchronicity 2. If it has a flaw, this comic, it's that the title just makes you lose the will to live by the time you finish reading it. But this is part of a big, well, relatively big, return of the Marvel UK characters from the early 1990s, of which Death's Head is second only to Captain Britain in terms of being the best known. Mainly because he appeared in so many crossovers. He was a crossover whore, both versions of him. So even though many of the other Marvel UK characters, like poor old Dragon's Claws, who are sort of so obscure, even in a crossover entirely about Marvel UK characters, they can't get an issue to themselves. It's very sad, really. But Death's Head appeared in so many of the comics that Doctor Who fans, or Fantastic Four fans, or Iron Man fans, and of course Transformers fans have an awareness of a character and even a fondness for him, and that includes me. My first exposure to him came when the British Transformers comic reprinted his first appearance in that title towards the end of its run. Fantastic character. As someone who came into him from Transformers, I do very much prefer the original and tend to think of Death's Head 2 as an evil knock-off imposter, probably very unfairly. I mean, to be honest, because of the fondness for the original, I don't even like his blue costume that much, so Death's Head 2 probably never was going to have much of a chance to impress me in what little I've had been able to read of his. Unlike the original Death's Head, none of his original comics are currently in print. But as part of this big Marvel crossover, Death's Head 2 came back for his own one-off issue as part of that, and I believe he's teaming up with everybody else at the end of the series and at the start. I've not read all 4 issues of the crossover that have been printed to date, so that's my cat playing in the background. She disagrees about the quality of Death's Head 2, she quite likes it. That's why she's making some noise to express her opinion, but then she's a cat, she's stupid in thinking that. But, so she's distracted me there. This may now become a very long video as I try to find my chain of thought again. So I've not read the whole crossover. This is just going to be about this one specific issue and how it works. I don't have a physical copy of the issue as I read it digitally, so I won't be able to wave it at the camera. So you'll just have to use your imagination to picture what I'm talking about, which is slightly worrying because a lot of Death's Head 2 fans seem to be quite perverted over the character of Tuck. So God knows what you'll be imagining. That the cat likes Tuck, that was her making that squeaky sound there. I really hope you hear all these background noises so I would look mental. But part of this big crossover where, luckily, that found my train of thought again, luckily you don't have to read the previous issues. Based on this one issue, they're probably quite good, but the issue itself works as a standalone. The only bits that actually seem relevant to the ongoing plot are the beginning, when Death's Head 2 brings Captain Britain to the underground base, at the end, where the villains take Captain Britain and Death's Head 1 off into space. Everything in the middle, basically one big fun fight. And I know I overuse the word fun quite badly in my Transformers and Movies video, when I use it about 5 billion times, but this is a fun comic. Again, I'm going to get a thesaurus for my next video to learn some new words to describe fun, but it's hugely entertaining. When this was first announced, I was a little bit wary because, partly because it was only originally announced as on the back of Death's Head 2 being in it, and as I said, I wasn't much of a fan of his. And even though Nick Roach, who I am a huge fan of, I've got some of his More Than Meets the Eye artwork on my wall, was announced as drawing it, and I knew he would do a fantastic job, because his style is a perfect heir to the Death's Head art crown. His work, he looks like what you would get if Jeff Sr. and Lee Sullivan got together and had a love child. Absolutely pitch perfect for the character. But I wasn't too sure because previous attempts to revive Death's Head in non-cameo roles, well, the most recent was Death's Head 3, and yeah. Even with a talented creative team on it, inside with Furman and James Reyes, I almost certainly pronounced his name wrong, so apologies for that. I can't even say Furman properly at the moment. It was terrible with a Death's Head who didn't look so much like Death's Head, but looked more like a predator who had gone to a fancy dress party dressed as the Are You My Mummy monster from Doctor Who. It was just not very good. So, plus the writers on this new issue, I wasn't familiar with Alan Cowsill's work. And Andy Lanning, the last thing I read by him was his work on the IDW Transformers comics. Heart of Darkness. Now, on a tangent, I will never ever understand why IDW keep bringing the Dead Universe back. Nobody liked it. And though thankfully Dark Cybertron has come around and is quite good as it's heading towards its final, and seems to be finishing off the Dead Universe for good, I'm still left with a terrible feeling in about 2 years Nova Prime is going to pop up from behind a rock and go, "Hey, I'm back!" But this is about Death's Head. So I wasn't entirely sure whether it would work or be any good, so it was slightly hesitation I went into reading this, but it was one issue from a good artist, so I thought I would give it a go. And I was very glad I did. In the Pubcast podcast, Nick Roach compares this to the Day of the Doctor 50th anniversary Doctor Who special, sort of evil version of it. And obviously it was written before that was broadcast, so any similarity is unintentional, but it does work in quite the same way. You have both the two Death Heads, or my two Death Heads, as I like to call it, brought together to have a massive fight, killing loads of monsters, nice banter between them, and what's really nice also is they're treated equally. It would be quite easy to have some mockery, especially in Death's Head 2. Sorry, Death's Head 2 fans sort of belittle or be sneery about these sort of minor UK characters, but luckily because it's been made by, drawn by a fan and written by someone who's involved with the original series anyway, it works. And they're both treated very well. If you are the fan of Death's Head 3, perhaps you're James Reyes' mom, you will be disappointed because he does get a fair bit of mockery aimed at him, but that's fair enough. He's rubbish, and he deserves it, and it's quite fun to watch Death's Head 1 and 2 kill hundreds of him. But the banter is great, the action is great, the little homages and references to all sorts of Marvel UK stuff, from Transformers through to that one panel cameo of Dragon's Claws, where you could see that little one tear running down Dragon's face. And the fact he didn't get to have a whole issue to himself like Super Soldiers did. He's thinking, what, I'm better than Super Soldiers? Why don't I get an issue? It's not fair. Sorry, Dragon. No, nobody apart from me and about 10 other people even remember you. And all the other stuff that Death's Head 1 and Death's Head 2 did is beautiful, so it serves the fans. As an action, well-done action issue, it still works even if you don't know who half of the giant robot's hand reaching to one panel is, or anything like that. So it's just a really nice issue that works as a valentine to both versions of the character and show that they still have life in them. Playing straight, and not as in a completely serious comic, as in a comic that treats from the characters properly, could still work today. They still have life in them. Sadly, what was also mentioned about podcasts is that the early issues of Revolutionary War didn't sell especially well, partly because they're up against the big Marvel Now thing, partly because the official sales figures only take into account American sales, and these characters have no currency in America. A couple of years ago, I attended a talk by various British comic creators, including Paul Cornell, where he was talking about how sad he felt about his Captain Britain MI13 series, which was the best received critically and in terms of fan reaction thing he had ever written, at least in terms of comics. But it sold nothing, because as far Americans just don't care about Captain Britain any more than the British would care about Captain Bulgaria. So it just dies a death, and this hasn't really made much of an impact on the Diamond charts. And of course, the advantage we have these days is digital sales and foreign sales. Hopefully they'll be enough in and of themselves to generate some more interest, because while I can't speak for the other Marvel UK characters in this crossover, these boys still have life, and Nick Roach definitely has ideas of what to do with them, and I'm sure Andy Lanning and Alan Cowsill, I have to keep looking down at his name because, as I said, I'm not as familiar with his work as the other people, so I'm sorry, Alan, if you're watching this. They always certainly have ideas, things they can do as well. So it'd be wonderful if this were a springboard into more appearances. And, you know, for those of you who come to this far, my blog, about 1,000 people a week look at my blog, amazingly enough. You wouldn't guess it based on these videos I've done so far. And I think after nearly 2 years of constant blogging about the British Transformers comic, I have bent most of you to my will. And I'm going to use that power for good rather than evil. So if you've enjoyed any of the weekly free entertainment I've given you, and you're lucky enough to have a couple of quid to spare, why not pop over to Comixology, try out this Death's Head comic, and I virtually get, because I'm going to guess most of the people who do read my blog are fans of the Transformers Marvel UK stuff, unless you're a masochist who gets a sexual thrill from reading about comics you hate, and if you do, happy to provide that service for you. So you'll always certainly enjoy it, so go give it a go. And if this works, and I'm able to influence people like that, next week I will use this power for evil. So win all round. But this is definitely a worthy and, I'm going to say fun again, fun return for Death's Head, and in Death's Head 2, and it's for a return that Death's Head 3 deserved. If it's a final for the character, it's a good final. If it's a new start, it's a great new start. And let's hope it'll be for later. So I'm signing off again. Hopefully I'll be doing more YouTube-y stuff as the months go on, just because it's easier to talk than it is to write about these things sometimes. You can do this quickly. If it doesn't the amount of time it takes to say it, as you can tell, this isn't usually rehearsed. So various other things might get covered on this channel as I go along. You might be thinking, well, if he's going to do more regular videos, he's going to put proper piece of editing and tightly written scripts, and no, it'll still be like this. I think this is my 4th video now. They're all going to be the same. I just have no idea what I'm doing, really. But go out there, go buy Death's Head. Get it a regular series. Get these 3 people working on it a monthly gig. Because Nick Roach especially, this is his first work for Marvel. It's not many of the artists who come into Transformers since it came back 10 years ago have really managed to escape the ghetto with his Transformers artwork onto more regular mainstream work, which of course if you want to be a regular comic artist and make a living out of it, you really have to. Because even with all the efforts of Dreamwave and now IDW, there are only so many Transformers comics in a month, not really enough to give you a regular income. So let him be the one who gets out and really succeeds and becomes a huge superstar, working with all sorts of very talented people, and make the Death's Head 1 and Death's Head 2, whichever one it might be, maybe a new one, probably won't be Death's Head 3, series happen. And I think I've probably got on for long enough now, as you probably tell. So I will hopefully see you all again very soon. Keep checking out the blog for the weekly transformation updates into 1987 now. It'll be the Transformers 1986 annual I'll be covering during the course of this week before the first 1987 issue. So hopefully there'll be lots of fun, exciting stuff on there. Have a good day, all of you, and those of you who enjoyed Tuck, carry on enjoying her as much as you have been.